Good morning, everyone. My name is Joséphine Culot.
Hello, everyone.
My name is Marco, and this is my Pollen Talk.
And today I'm going to talk to you about textile and how to make the fashion industry more circular. I'm going to start this presentation with a bit of a contextualization, setting out the main challenges and cost of inaction. As you can see on this graph from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, the consumption of clothing has more than doubled since the year 2000. When, in opposition to this phenomena, their utilization has done nothing but decreasing. Each year, 11 kilos of textile are being discarded per person when 26 is being consumed. Today, most of the fibers produced are synthetic and made of non-renewable sources. As an example, let's take the most used fibers in textile production, which is, of course, synthetic and called polyester. Well, this one needs 70 million barrels of oil each year to be produced. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. The other plant-based natural fibers and the whole clothing production process are almost as bad. They pollute our soil, our water, they use alarming amount of water, and they impact negatively our health and our environment, due to the use of pesticides, hazardous chemicals, and the release of microfibers into our oceans. Furthermore, less than 1% of clothing materials are being recycled into new clothing items, all the remaining being either landfilled or incinerated. All this makes the fashion industry responsible for 10% of the global carbon emissions, which represents more than the emissions of all international flights and maritime shipping combined. But since money is the universal language and the main leverage for actions, let me tell you what are the costs of all this. Well, the lack of recycling of clothing into new items represents a loss of more than 80 billion euros worth of materials every year. If the fashion industry were to take responsibility for all this, it would result in a benefit of 160 billion euros for the world economy. Talking in carbon budgets, since the demand for fast fashion is expected to grow by 2050 significantly, the pollution resulting from this would lead to the fashion industry needing 26% of the carbon budget, based on the 2 degrees Celsius scenario required by the Paris Agreement. So if the EU wants to hold the engagement it took in 2015 under the Paris Agreement, it needs to act now with bold and ambitious actions. But what are our options? Well, according to the roadmap the Commission released in January, the EU textile strategy plans on adopting the following actions. Channel investments in the development of new production processes, design, materials, business models, infrastructure, and so on. Set targets for reuse and recycling, promoting sustainable production and lifestyle, reduce hazardous chemicals and introduce more sustainable design, implement extended producer responsibility, target for separate collection of textile, and finally, reinforce human rights, transparency, and traceability. While I do agree with everything the Commission is proposing in its roadmap, I believe that not all issues are being tackled, that the initiatives need to be clear, and that the targets and other requirements must be binding to trigger real change. Therefore, I call on the Commission to set ambitious and binding targets for collection and recycling of textile waste, and for minimum recycled content into new clothing items. We also need the Commission to implement a right to repair of minimum 3 years for clothes to push for more longevity and better quality. We also ask the Commission to ban all hazardous chemicals in textile fibers to stop the negative impacts on the health of the population and our environment. We also call on the Commission to impose filters in washing machines to stop the release of microfibers into our oceans. Also, it is about time that we impose mandatory harmonized labeling on clothes disclaiming the content, the origin, and the impact those have on our world for more transparency and for the consumer to realize how problematic the issue is. It is also extremely important to fight against greenwashing in the fashion industry by regulating and verifying the green claims and certification of the fashion brands, which are way too often misleading and wrong. We also would like the Commission to push its member states to introduce the circular economy principle in its education and research institutions' teaching programs, to trigger a real change of paradigm as early as possible, and eventually lead to innovative new business models and technologies. Thank you very much for your attention, and don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions on this topic.